Hi, everybody. It's Cindy, and I'm with Jeanie. It's coffee with BNOW coffee.
Good morning, everyone. This first cup of coffee is so good.
Yeah, it's always good. Jeanie, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, it is a continuation on a theme. And our theme has been with all of these BNOW coffees so far is about energy. Whether it's about the energy of, who we are, our words. We talked about words. We talked about the power of music. We talked about the power of intentional moving of objects, with feng shui and clutter clearing and all of that. We talked about different timelines and dimensions. We talked about disappearing objects and, all of that. So, and these may be things that people have heard about or have not heard about, but you may have heard about this stuff peripherally. But a subject that just fascinates me is telekinesis. And they're like, tele what?
I'm with that. What in the heck?
What
is, how do you, telekinesis?
Telekinisis.
Okay.
Telekinesis.
You've got my full attention.
Yay. Okay. Well, it's very interesting because I know that each of us have done this in some way, shape, or form. And so we have been able to influence things in our lives, including physical things in our lives. And one of the whole idea of telekinesis is that the power of our mind is so great that we can actually influence and change things. Have you ever done this? Long years ago, I learned that I could go outside and, lie in the grass or sit or just stand there and pick out like clouds in the sky and pick out one cloud out of all of them and focus my mind on that in that evaporating, and it will evaporate, that one cloud. Okay. And you talked about this too, about when we were talking about music and changing the energy. It can go from, just regular water, and it changes, it goes into steam, and then it goes into water again. And we didn't get that deep in it, but that was implied. So we can change things in our world. And back in the 60s and 70s, and we'll talk about this in another episode about remote viewing. And the Stanford Research Institute was hired by the CIA because they were so afraid that the Russians were getting ahead of them in, being able to manipulate things and be able to see things. So that's a whole nother thing. But one of the people that came as a prime example of moving things with their mind was Uri Geller. And, people have tried to, debunk him and all of that, but no, he teaches people how to take your mind and just like hold a spoon and say, it's getting warm, it's melting, and it does, it just melts. And then you just flip it off and it breaks. And you go, how in the hell did that work? What's the power of the mind? And honestly, kind of as above, so below. The whole idea of lasers is just like that. In fact, the two physicists that were working at Stanford, Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff, and they got very involved in the remote viewing, but they started out too with telekinesis.
Explain remote viewing real quick because.
Okay, yeah. Remote viewing means that you can see something that is happening anywhere in the world. And you don't even need to know what you're looking for. In fact, if you don't know what it is, what they will do is they would use a random number generator and assign a target. Let's just say, like the canyon, Grand Canyon, or, Disney World or whatever. But what they were using also is to peer into like secret facilities like the Russians, and they would see them. They would see these big pulleys and these big things, and they would describe it. They had no idea what they were describing, but they could see it. And also, very interestingly, this transcends time and space in that a lot of times they would see it before the random number generator even was activated.
My goodness. This is some interesting.
It's a very interesting subject, and we will deeply dive in that. But on telekinesis, what they did too is they brought this guy in who was just from New York City. He was kind of a real avant-garde type of guy. His name was Ingo Swann. And he was able to sit in a room, and they had this big piece of equipment in the bottom of this research center that was, had gyroscopes, and it was, it had like earthquake proof stuff so that it would not disturb whatever they were doing. And what he did, Ingo Swann did, is he sat there in this room and was told, let's see if you can move this needle. And they're like, there is no way. I mean, even an earthquake couldn't do this.
Wow.
And I'll be dadgummed if he didn't sit there and move the needle. Yeah. So,
wow.
Have you ever thought, and here's another way that we can think about like being in touch with things at long distances. Have you ever thought of all of a sudden, like your child or something, and you call and they go, oh, Mom, I just got a speeding ticket or whatever. I mean, we're in touch with that. But we can also create the kind of, we've talked so much, Cindy, about creating what we want and using our mind. And experiments have been done showing that people who have this focused type of mind can actually bend a laser beam without touching.
Wow.
Yeah, without touching it. So it's like, well, okay, this is all very interesting, but who cares?
Right.
The thing that I care about is that it is proof positive to me. If I can quantify, I jokingly call myself a closet physicist, but if I can quantify something, and if I can actually see something moving or changing simply through the power of my thoughts, then that is, to me, that's like, okay, I'm not living in a vacuum here. And actually, Jesus did this too, and he always asked permission. We've talked about healing. The couple of weeks ago, we talked about, being healed and stuff like that, and the power of your mind. But almost all of Jesus's miracles that are recorded are about healing. But he either responded to somebody saying, would you heal me? Or like the centurion whose servant was sick, will you heal my servant? Right. But if he saw somebody like a cripple or, lying beside the pool of Bethesda, or, somebody who couldn't see or whatever, he would ask them, would you be healed? He had to get their permission because it's the power of the two minds together. In the Bible, it says, if any two people agree on one thing, it'll be done unto them. So there's the power of two minds. And that's why I love the work that you and I do. It's two different minds. It's like we have two hemispheres of our brain. We have two arms, two legs, two eyes, two ears, and it all works in concert. They're different, but they work together.
Right.
Yeah. And so anyhow, somebody said jokingly one time to me that when Jesus went to raise Lazarus from the dead, he had to call him by name. Otherwise, everyone in the graves would have jumped up. Howdy. Now that's a joke. Okay.
Oh gosh.
But in talking about that, the focused mind is so important. Right. And there is another study done, and there was a guy who used to be an FBI polygrapher. He was, giving polygraphs and stuff. His name is Cleve Baxter, Backster, Backster. Baxter. And he did experiments with plants, houseplants. And he thought, he was like, well, I can read these impulses from people, electrical impulses on the skin. That's all a polygraph does. Mm-hmm. And he said, I wonder, because I know these plants are alive, if I hook them up to a polygraph, would they respond? When he wrote a book called The Secret Life of Plants.
I'll be darned.
But what he did was he realized that he could influence them, or he'd be on the other side of town and he would think about his plants, about watering them lovingly. And at that exact same time, when he went back, they perked up. So he did this experiment, Cindy. This is very interesting. He got a volunteer and he took one of the plants, one of the small philodendrons, and he had that murderer, if you will, come in and take the plant and just tear it apart in front of the other plants. And all the plants fainted on the polygraph. They just fainted. And so they cleaned up the mess. Well, then he did an experiment like a couple days later, and he paraded through one at a time, different people in front of the plants. And no reaction, no reaction. And when the murderer came into the room, they all fainted.
Isn't that interesting?
It's fascinating. So what this brings to is the power of prayer. The power of prayer is we are focused in on someone, seeing them well and healthy. And many studies have been done in hospitals and hospital universities about people being prayed for that didn't know they were being prayed for, cardiology events and all kinds of things. And they don't even know they're being prayed for, but they get better faster. They have shorter hospital times. And so it's moving the energy. So we can move physical objects. People can move objects with their minds and all of that. But I think for me, I'm not so concerned about moving objects with my mind. I'm concerned about moving energy. And, we talked about even like wind and water and feng shui and the flow of things. And, we all know, well, many of us know about Masaru Emoto from Japan, who did work with water and water crystals. And he took some dirty water from the Fujiwara Dam. He put some on slides and froze it, and then put the frozen slides under a dark field microscope. And it was just nasty. I mean, the water did not crystallize or anything. So he took the same water to a Zen Buddhist monk who blessed it. That was it. Came back, put drops of water on the slides, froze it again, put it under the microscope, and the most beautiful crystals appeared. And so he found that if he even just labeled like jars of water, and one was thank you, and one was gratitude, and one was I love you, and one was joy, and one was peace. And the highest one that came out with the most beautiful crystals was thank you, gratitude. But they all, I know. But he also, go ahead. Just let me finish real quick.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
But he put things like, Japanese symbols for I hate you, I want to kill you. Well, that crystal came out looking like a man being torn in half. Mm-hmm. And hate and war and all of that. And so even when, and this sounds silly, you were talking about when we were talking about you moving and you thanking things, and it may sound silly. Well, I bless the coffee water. I bless the water that I wash my vegetables in. I bless my water in my shower. I literally bless it, and I see it changing structures.
I was just thinking what I was going to say is I'm going to go out to my pitcher and get a marker and write thank you on my water pitcher and put it in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It changes the molecular structure.
Isn't that something? Or good health. Thank you, happiness, joy. Write all those words, whatever you want. Prosperity. Oh, that's a good one.
Right. Creativity.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Love, relationships, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it imprints the water. And we know that our body is mostly water. And we also know our planet is mostly water.
And yeah, exactly. And that's what concerns me. Sometimes you'll see a negative tattoo on somebody. Like,
let's go here. Yeah. When you do that, I mean, you are imprinting whatever that says with that energy. And it's like daggers. I told you about the whole thing with BJ Thomas and the dagger, and he didn't see it that way. It was fine. But, when you imprint your body with something, if it's negative or devil or, whatever, I wouldn't have that on my body for anything.
No.
And here's the other thing too, the t-shirt. Now, I would wear a t-shirt at gunpoint, maybe. Maybe. But
that's one of our yin and yang things.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're the t-shirt beach girl, and I'm like, oh, hell no. But when people wear shirts and clothes that have things imprinted on it, you are literally taking in the energy of what that says.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, we could dive deeply into all kinds of examples of telekinesis.
That's very, very good. That's very good. I want to encourage people to go and join the beautiful network of women.com.
Yes.
And join our group because, and what you're saying right now, Jeanie, one thing I keep thinking it's in my head is let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. If you are a woman who knows that love can heal this world, which needs healing, it needs healing. We're in a stage of awareness that we've got the diagnosis. In other words,
yes,
that the world needs to be healed in parts that we never even dreamed existed. Please join us at beautifulnetworkofwomen.com because that's what we're about. We want to grow and grow and grow. Understanding tools that Jeannie's been sharing, that I've been sharing in our coffees. Thank you so much. This has been a really, really good day. And I'm going right now into my pictures and I'm going to write words and drink that water.
Absolutely. I mean, you can intend it, but the written word is so powerful.
It is powerful.
It really is. And, I just want to say one quick thing. I used to know a guy who was actually a minister. I hate to admit that, and he was funny. He was an old radio guy. I knew him from radio and stuff like that. And do you remember that The Sixth Sense where it says, I see dead people?
Yeah.
Well, he had a cup that said, I see dumb people, which was, in his mind, that was funny.
And he was drinking it.
He was drinking it. And I said, really? Really? Do you want to ingest this? I see dumb people, and so it's just.
Watch your coffee cups. This is my daughter. This makes
right.
Yes. So she's in the Coast Guard here. So
yeah.
I love you.
I love you. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit that subscribe button, whether it's on YouTube or Rumble or both. Right. Hit the like. Leave us some comments. Cindy is also uploading all of these coffee chats to our website, beautifulnetworkofwomen.com. We also have other things that we're posting, other past radio podcasts, and I've got some new videos coming up from other things. So, I have a whole slew of little videos that I did, 2 minutes that can change your life. And so just little bite-sized messages. And I'm going to get with you, Cindy, because you're the technical person, so we can get this uploaded. Okay. Have a great week, everyone.
Love you all. And thank you for joining us. Thank you.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.